Mother's Day is this weekend, and I'm hoping that many of you will decide to make some food for your mom. Make something special. And for my money, nothing says special occasion food or festive food as much as Italian. We're going to Italy this week, home of the Colosseum, home of the Catholic Church, home of these beautiful rolling hills with vineyards and old farms. Beautiful country. Some details about it. Here it is on a map. It's the boot, right? Kind of at the southern end of Europe. The capital is Rome. The language, of course, is Italian. There are about 60 million Italians, and most of them, if they are religious, are Catholic. This is the Mediterranean Sea. We're in a Mediterranean climate here, which means fairly mild. It gets hot in the summer, especially in southern Italy, but not like Nevada hot, right? And there's also differences. In the north, we're in the Alps. This is near Switzerland and Austria, so high mountains, lots of snow in the winter. Much milder in the south. Hills still, but no mountains. In terms of the economy, this is one of the strongest economies in Europe. And some things we know about the economy of Italy, we know about some of their manufacturing. Anybody who's into cars knows some Italian cars like Lamborghini. Anybody who's into fashion is probably aware of Italian silks and Italian leather, shoes, high fashion. So lots of manufacturing, but also tourism. Millions of people go to Italy every year, partly for the food, which we'll talk about. So the economy has been strengthening, especially because in the last 40 years, a lot of industries have gone from being largely government-controlled to being more privatized. That tourism we talked about is partly because of the long history of Italy. So this goes back to, of course, the Roman Empire. Rome went from being a republic to being an empire when Julius Caesar took power about 27 years before Christ. And the empire lasted about 500 years until Rome was taken over in 476. During that time, Rome controlled most of what you see on this map. Not way up here, but most of what is visible on this map. Most of what to them was the known world was the empire. By the time the empire fell, one of the emperors, Constantine, had officially converted the empire to Christianity. And so even after the empire, this was the center of Christianity in the world. The only Christian church in the world until the 1500s was the Roman Catholic Church. And then, of course, Luther started the Reformation and other churches started happening. But there are still more Catholics than any other brand of Christians in the world. So arguably, this is still the center of Christianity in the world today. It was the center of the Renaissance. You know something about the Renaissance from history, that sort of rebirth of the arts and learning. And it happened because there was a lot of money in Italy from banking and from exploration of other parts of the world. And so beginning in the 1300s, there were people who became sponsors of the arts and of a renewal of classical learning, classical meaning like from the Roman Empire in ancient Greece, and that spread gradually through Europe. In those days, when that was happening, Italy was not really one country. It was different city-states, and some of them were very rich and powerful, like Venice and Florence and Rome, of course. It wasn't until 1861 that this became united again as the country that we see on the map today. After that, the main event historically for Italy probably comes with World War II. Italy was fascist, and they sided with Hitler and the Germans, so they lost. And it was a hard recovery after that. But they did recover and have continued to gain strength, and they have remained a proud people, proud of their culture. And some of that pride comes through their food. Italian food is world famous, I think deservedly. Some basics of it: olive oil. They use it in everything, right? Garlic and onion are key flavorings, but also balsamic vinegar. They use a lot of tomatoes. Among spices, basil is probably the most prominent. They use cheese, not as heavily as we tend to, but they use it, and especially Parmesan cheese. It doesn't just come in those green, shaky cans with the almost powdery stuff. Sometime, if you haven't before, try getting a wedge of it and fresh grating it. It's amazing. Italians like to preserve food, so they cure meat. They make things like salami or sausages, and they can things. They pickle things and so on. But they also have fresh fish and, of course, lots of fresh vegetables and pasta. Of course, pasta, which I hope some of you will be brave enough to make your own of this week. Some other classic Italian foods: Caprese salad, which, like many Italian foods, really just has a few ingredients, and it's about the quality of the ingredients. This salad has tomatoes and mozzarella cheese and basil and olive oil and garlic, maybe balsamic vinegar. It's a good summer thing. Bruschetta, you cut up a baguette, toast it, and you top that with Parmesan cheese, tomato, basil, garlic. Classic ingredients, right? Another one that you may not have tried: mushroom risotto. Risotto is rice instead of pasta, but they do similar things with it. Lots of good desserts like tiramisu, pictured here, and of course, lasagna. Whether you try lasagna this week or the closely related manicotti, I hope you have a lot of fun making Italian food and eating it, and that you enjoy your culinary time in Italy. God bless you this week.